Testing. Hello everyone, my name is Mike Martin and broadcasting from Casio America today for a CT-X3000 and CT-X5000 webinar by popular request from CasioMusicForums.com. A number of people have asked us to do a webinar on tone editing on the CT-X and CT-X3000 and 5000 models. So we're broadcasting live on YouTube. If you have questions along the way, please bring them. I've got some examples set up for you today, and I'll do my best to address your questions live during this webinar. So welcome everybody. So I do have in front of me a CT-X3000. CT-X3000, CT-X5000 are identical in terms of sounds and in terms of the tone editing functions that these instruments have. So sorry, I make that blurb go away there. So everything I do here on the CT-X3000 you can do on the CT-X5000, and tones are also compatible between the two. So we also do have tones that you can already download and load into these instruments. I'm going to go over some of the tones that I've already created, and of course we're going to make some on the fly here today. So let's dive in. CT-X3000 and 5000. I know the overhead camera, it's hard to see the display, so I've got that zoomed view as well of the display so you can see what I'm doing. As far as controls while I'm editing, there's only a few different things that I'm going to use here. And I see Chandler popping in. I appreciate that, Chandler. I'm actually having trouble with seeing the comment view, so I'm going to try and open YouTube back up live so I can watch that. Comment view is buggy. All right. So I've got the YouTube chat window open. Thanks, Chandler. All right. So, and my camera went away. Goodness, all kinds of trouble here today. Let's bring my camera back. Let's bring the R5 view back. Good to go. All right. So in today's webinar, I'm mostly going to be using the controls here on the number pad, and obviously you'll see all the changes that I'm making during the webinar on the fly. So let's dive in. So the CT-X3000 and 5000, these aren't full-blown synthesizers, but there's actually a ton that you can do with these models in terms of sound creation. So I'll do my best to show you everything that's possible with a variety of different sounds. So diving in first, I've got a basic synth tone up here on the CT-X3000. cool 80s synth string tone. Pretty slick. But using the editing functions, you can dive in and do a number of things. So the secret to the editing functions is right up here. There's a button labeled function. And if you look below that label, it says press and hold for edit. So we press and hold for edit, and that's where we're going to get to the goodies. And I'm going to make this full screen so we can see the screen. Pop myself back in here real good. So at this point, we can use the cursor keys left and right to go through the various parameters, and let's just talk about each of these real quick. So attack time. This is the amp envelope attack time. Now, one important thing with the CT-X instruments is the edits that you make are offsets of the original value. Okay, so if a tone, this particular example, if I were to, take the attack to the left, I'm making it faster from its stored value. If I take it to the right to a higher number, I'm increasing it from its stored value. So you don't have full envelope control, but you've got enough to make some important changes. So it sounds like this. The attack time, if we take that parameter to the left, you can hear that it has a real nice percussive tone. If we take it further to the right, we can get a nice fade in. Take it even further. And depending on the type of tone, there's, you'll have different results in terms of the values. So certain tones like the piano tones and others aren't going to react exactly the same just due to the nature of the way those specific ones are programmed. But the synth sounds in particular, you've got a lot of control here to dial these in the way you like. So just for example's sake, I'm going to take the attack all the way down to this quicker setting. Release time. This is what happens to the tone after you release the key. So if we increase this value, you can hear that that's going to stick around for a while. So you need to be a little careful with these results as you dial them in. To the left, now you've got a really fast release off the tone. We'll show you later how you can use that with electric pianos and other tones to make them real snappy. It's very cool. So release time, I'm going to increase it. Again, 64 was the middle sort of default value with this tone. I'm going to take it a little to the right. All right, so we got a cool synth sound with a little bit of release. Next parameter, cutoff F, and the F there meaning frequency. So again, 64 is the value that the Casio engineers stored it at when they made this particular tone. We can take it to the left, and that will darken the tone. If we take it to the right, that's going to open that filter up. So that's what I was going for. So honestly, now just with a few changes, we've got So a really fast and easy edit that we made. All we did was change the attack time, the release time, and the cutoff frequency, and we've got this really cool journey-esque type of tone. So now at any point in time you come up with something you like and you want to store it, up on the right hand corner, actually in the number pad, it's the number 7. It says right. You can press the right button and you can store this tone just by saying yes, I want to store it, and there you go, and you've now made a user tone. Okay, now of course we didn't take the time to name it, so I'll show you another way to get to that, but that's one quick example on editing a synth tone. Let's take some other examples. Let's start where I was. I'm going to go back actually to exactly the same starting point, which was this 80s synth pad, because there's a lot more that you can do other than just changing the amp envelope and the filter. So again, press and hold that function button. That takes you to the edit menu. Attack time, release time, cut off. Again, we can brighten this sound up. Filter resonance, that's going to give you a, you know, you can hear that resonance in this particular sound. Then you get into a vibrato, octave position, the overall volume, and where I like to go is velocity sensitivity. So synth tones, if you're programming synth tones, you got to think back to the early, you know, the 70s and 80s. Some of you are too young to remember that. But a lot of the keyboards of that era were not velocity sensitive, and they weren't quite as responsive as keyboards we have today. So one thing to keep in mind when you're programming tones is to experiment with it with, you know, that velocity turned off. It's going to give you a completely different vibe while you play that tone. So generally I like to, you know, depending on the tone, synth tones, pads, leads, those kinds of things, I like to reduce it a little bit from the default. But that's just my personal taste, so you can dial it in however you want. Next on the list, your effects mixes. You've got reverb, send, chorus send, delay send, and then the DSP, and that's where we're headed. So chorus send, I mean, you know, these are pretty self-explanatory. These are going to your system effects for this tone. But if we make changes to the DSP, we are rerouting signal here, and you'll reset the default reverb and chorus amounts. So if you do make any changes to the DSP editing section, you'll want to go back later on and add that reverb back in. So awesome. Just checking the chat here, guys. Chandler's adding some performance tips into the chat. Appreciate it. All right, so DSP edit. This is one of the most unbelievable parts of the CT-X lineup, and you'll also find some of this power in products like the PXS3000, because there's an amazing effect system in here. It's truly unbelievable. You know, to dive into this section at this point, all you do is press enter, and first thing you have is an on-off switch for the DSP effect. So we're going to turn it on, and then you have the ability to dial in from hundreds of DSP effects algorithms. What you'll find here is you see the list, and you'll actually see tone names in here. Let me stop for a minute and explain. So the actual DSP algorithms start at number 800 up to 899. Those are the factory effect algorithms. All of the other effects that you see listed there are the ones that were programmed for a particular tone. So that's pretty cool that if you like, let's say, the phaser sound on one electric piano and you're making an electric piano, well, you can go in that DSP list and dial in that specific effect that you saw being used in another tone. So it's pretty slick. But let's dive back into using the DSP effects. So you will see the gamut. They start, generally speaking, with some single unit effects, but in some of these algorithms, you'll find that there are actually 4 effects at once happening with some of these examples. So again, you know, typically I would you know, sort of play the keyboard while I'm dialing through these to figure out a few different things. I've got some favorites that I like. So 871 Comp Mod 4. So if you want to see what's going on with a particular effect, just press the enter button at this point, and you can see that we have a compressor, we have a tremolo effect, a flanger, and a delay all happening at once. So you can choose at this point to turn different elements on or off. You can also get in there and adjust parameters within those effects. So for example, the tremolo, I don't know that I need it, so I'm going to press enter, and I'm going to turn the bypass on for that tremolo effect. I don't want that tremolo. Okay, but you also hear that we've got a flanger in here, so I can press enter, scroll to the right, I can change the rate. You can change the depth. You can change the type of waveform, and there's even a random one in here, which is pretty slick. Some pretty slick stuff there. In fact, I'm just going to leave it. And then the fourth algorithm here in this chain is a delay effect. And you can set your delay time. You can choose your ratio. It's actually a stereo delay effect. You have to keep in mind everything is in MIDI values, so 0 to 127. So if you want the right delay to be half of the left delay, well, you can set it to a value of 64, and now your repeats are, it could be a quarter note and the other one is an eighth note as an example. And the reason I mentioned time values is there is a tempo sync in here available, and you can set the delays to match your given tempo of your song, of your piece. So there we go. So some pretty cool things you can do with the effects, and we're going to come back to this even more. So, with these types of things that we've talked about already, I've made some, I'm going to press no here. There are some tones you can download already for the CT-X3000 and 5000. This is one I made called CT-X World. That again was a factory pad tone that I changed the envelope, I changed the effects, maybe the filter just a little bit, and so pretty slick. Great sound. And again, you could, one of the ways, I always say this in every webinar, one of the ways I learned to program tones, program synthesizers, was to take a particular tone and take it apart and learn how it was done. So we could take a look at this particular tone by pressing edit. You can see I changed the attack time from the default 64. I changed the release time. I didn't change the filter, but we could open it up a little bit more. And then you can get into the other. I changed the velocity sensitivity. Again, my personal preference. And then I didn't add the effects back in. But the DSP, we can get in and see I used DSP algorithm number 887. And that gave us delay, a pitch effect, a phaser, and a panner. So that's an awesome combination of things to have for synth sounds. So very slick. So that's a free tone that you can download, again, from CasioMusicForums.com. So couple examples of synth sounds. You can check those out. Exit. Yes. Write it. No, I don't want to change it. Now, let's dive into a few other examples. Again, those DSP effects will take you a long way. Clavinet's one of my favorite things. So for those of you that have a CT-X, the clavinets, you'll find at the end of the electric piano category. There's a bunch of them in here. They're amazing, and these actually came right out of some of the soundboard that was done for the PX5S and PX560. There's also another variation with a different pickup position that was recorded. Okay, not going to find me playing Superstition, but let's just take one of these and again dive into this effects section real quick, because this is where some real magic. Some of you, if you've attended any of my previous sessions, this is one of the things that, one of the algorithms that I just love on this instrument. I'm going to turn the DSP on. I believe it is number 846. It's kind of mind-blowing that you've got this, you've transformed this clavinet sound from where we started to this amazing guitar rig. So again, you could press enter at this point and look at the 4 different effects that are being used here. We've got a wah-wah, we've got overdrive, an amp cabinet, and delay. So any of these you could take apart, you can edit, dial them in the way you want. So for example, the overdrive to me is a little heavy, so you can dial it in, turn it back to maybe something a little cleaner. Okay, so little crunch instead of the mega, you know, overdrive that we had before. So again, all I've done with this particular tone was change the algorithm. So I'll exit out here real quick. I'm not going to save it. Again, you'll find on Casio music forums, you will find this Clav M3. That's one of my favorites, you know, and it's truthfully, regardless of price, it's hard to find a clavinet simulation that is this fun and this outstanding to play. So, I mean, you can add some rhythm to it. I mean, I get lost with some of the sounds like that one that are truly just amazing to play. So remember again where we started. We started in that with that original clavinet, which sounded something. That's where we started just a minute ago. Another example that again, all we're going to change is the DSP effect. I'll go into the guitar category. Oops. Sorry, category. Here we go. Category. Sorry, my angle for I'm favoring the camera. The display is a little difficult for me to see. So go in the guitar category. Again, you can take some of these clean. You know, it's a clean Strat type of tone. Press and hold that edit button and get into the effects. DSP edit, enter, and dial in your algorithm. I mean, if I go to that same one, you can, it was 845, I believe. You know, you've got just, you know, an amazing type of guitar to start with. All right, so I stored one of my favorites. Again, this is a tone that you can download from CasioMusicForums.com. Exit. I called it Epic Guitar. I think I stored it in that position. So in this particular example, you can hear I added a lot more delay. I also have, it's a little bit cleaner. You can add some accompaniment in. Just truly amazing. And again, remember, we started with a guitar tone that essentially, we're going to DSP edit here and turn it off. That's where we started, just a clean guitar tone. And using the DSP effects, we turned it into something really, really awesome. So, all right, let's talk about some other types of tones. I usually exit out of here. So those are usually some of my go-tos on these instruments that I love to show. Let's talk about editing some other types of tones, such as electric pianos. So again, I'll press category, go to electric piano. I like, well, that's a good one to start with. I like it in a different. So that's a real nice Rhodes type electric piano. And I'll show you a couple of shortcuts. So far in this video, you've seen me, I've been scrolling to the right every time to get to the DSP effects. If I simply go left one time, you see DSP edit is actually the first thing if you go the other direction. So so we could get in here and edit the effects on this, but in fact I'm gonna start editing this tone with the effects off. All right, so attack time, nothing really we need to do there. It's already very, very fast. But release time, this can make a huge difference in the way the electric piano responds. So you can actually hear it's a real snappy release. You want to go too slow or too fast, excuse me. Actually, where I had it before was just about right. So again, the default was up here around 62. That's where the sound was programmed. You can hear that's nice, but I prefer it to be a little snappier, so I changed the release a little bit. That seems just about right. Cutoff, again, you can change this, make it a little brighter or a little bit darker. Very subtle in this particular case because some different tech is used on the electric piano sounds compared to some of the others. And then again, you might want to adjust velocity sensitivity to taste, and then dial in that DSP effects. So much to choose from in here. Let's go in here to, again, the algorithms start really at number 800. And there's all kinds of, so there's phasers, there's choruses, and the chorus here is different and more powerful than the one in the system effects. So it's very slick. Nice tremolo and panner. Some great options here in the panner, by the way. Check this out. Press enter. Let's see. Enter, auto pan. Oh, this one's not going to give us any options. There we go. Rate, depth, and the waveform. All right, so let's turn up the depth all the way. And then waveform. You've got three different choices. A sine wave, which is going to smoothly move from one side to the other. A triangle. And the last one is trapezoid, and that's more of the hard pan type of effect that you would hear on a Rhodes electric piano. And if you like, again, you can dial the depth back a little bit to taste. All right, so I see somebody asking about synth pads. Trust me, there will be more synth pads, and obviously you can watch the replay of the video as well, but I do get lost with synth pads on these. Hey Roger, hey everybody, thanks for being here. Awesome. So electric pianos, again, just to summarize, don't forget to change things like the release time, make them a little snappier, maybe open the filter up, and then get in and dive into some of the effects. The panners, the other algorithms are just amazing. So some good ones. The distortions. So again, just like we heard with the clavinet, you can get a little carried away with some of these. There's lots of different options with these effects. There's some of these labeled reamp. Again, if you dial in to some of these, you will find that there's a compressor, a limiter, an amp cabinet, and an EQ. Go into the next one, you've got a compressor, a limiter, amp cabinet, and a delay. So that delay is adding nice stereo separation for us, but we can increase the time for both the left and the right. So get a nice slap back type of delay, or you can go so some just amazing things to explore. Go in and try a different amp cabinet. Again, there are, and I think somebody very clever on Casio Music Forums actually deciphered all of these abbreviations. This is amazing technology you'll find in here. These are some of the best amp simulators you'll find in any keyboard, regardless of price. If you want, you can sort of figure out what that one is, a Fender Tweed Reverb 3. That's what it is, and you can actually get in and choose its different channel variations and other elements that make that particular amp cabinet special. So amazing tech. Taking a quick look at the chat. Greetings from Indonesia. It's very early there. Welcome. All right. So we'll exit. So in the chat, if you want to hear a particular type of sound, I know there's a request with for synth pads and things like that. So we can revisit that briefly. I'll go into the pad category. Oops, category. Synth pad, press tone, and dial them in. So with some of the pads, I'll just go back to the very first pad tone, darn it. I'm going too fast for my own good. Synth pad. This to me, it's a great tone, but I don't qualify it myself personally as a pad because that attack is so fast. So one change, I just might make real quick. Press and hold that enter button, adjust, dial in that attack time, something slower. And now we've got something, that to me is more of a pad tone. Again, we can adjust the release, make it stick around a little bit longer after we release the keys. We can make it a little brighter by opening the filter. And then we can get in and adjust. Again, my preference on velocity sensitivity is to lower it a little bit on synth tones. And then we can get in and adjust those DSP effects. So many options to choose from. That one I had earlier. $880, I believe, was the one. It's one of these. Ah, here we go. So if you want to edit this algorithm, we can dial in and see it's got a delay, a pitch shifter, a phaser, and a panner all happening at once. So pitch shift is giving us a little bit of a chorus effect. We've got phaser, which I might want to change its speed. And the panner as well, you can get in and adjust how quickly it's moving from side to side. So So pretty amazing. Again, you can store that, make it your own. So taking a look at the chat, someone's asking, first time chatting. I want to get this board, but I'm seeing Casio stopped making videos. Oh, the XWP one. Yeah, XWP one has been discontinued. So yeah, appreciate the question and the comment. But that model, great product. One of my favorite Casio products, and mine is sitting right over there off camera. So you'll have to find an XWP one used if you're interested in that guy. But appreciate you joining the live chat today. All right. And so Jeremiah is asking, what's the differences between the CT-X3000 and CT-X700? Well, great question, and that's why we're here today. This is a tone editing webinar, and we're talking about how you can change and manipulate the tones on the CT-X3000 and 5000. You cannot change the tones on the CT-X700 or 800. The tones are completely preset on that. You can change system effects. You can create your own splits and layers, but you cannot change the tones themselves, manipulate them as we're doing in the webinar today. So great question. And the following question is, can you try layer of tones on the CT-X800? Yes, on all the CT-X models, you can layer tones to create your own variations. So absolutely. And I would agree, my chat here is a little working, but everything is edible. You can't eat it, but you can change it. Editable. All right. So let's dive into a few more examples. One thing that comes up often when you start editing tones. So let's say you've edited a tone, you made an awesome pad sound that you like. Okay, so I've got this one I made earlier, and I have it here. So some people say, well, I want to take my piano sound and layer it with this pad. So one thing you got to keep in mind is the way the DSP works on this model. The DSP is tied to that first tone, and there's a lot of DSP effects happening in this tone as we showed you earlier. So if you want to layer a sound like this with piano, you have to think about it a little backwards. You put this sound, what normally you would think as your layered sound, first, and then you add piano to it. And then you can adjust the balance accordingly. So we could take this pad, and then we can layer it, put our piano in, and then you could use the mixer and adjust the balance between those two sounds. So you can absolutely use the edited sounds in layers, but sometimes if you want all the effects associated with that edited tone, you might have to do it a little in a different order. Awesome. So Alex was asking, did I cover the piano earlier? If I have the right comment. Let me see if I can pull it up on the screen and read it. All right, did you cover the piano earlier? No, we haven't talked really about the piano sounds. Personally, I don't edit them too much because they're so awesome to begin with. I mean, truthfully. And you have so many variations within the presets in terms of different tonalities that you can choose. But I will give you just a couple, examples here. So this is the default stage piano preset that you'll find on on the CTX. It's outstanding. I love it. But again, there's lots of variations already done. If you're looking for something more for a ballad, or if you're looking for something, you know, for pop or rock, you know, we have many of those things already covered. Now, if you want to get in and edit these tones yourself further, yes, you can do that. All the effects are available. Some of the parameters that we talked about earlier, like attack and release, won't work quite the same way it will on a synth sound. So, you know, the attack, you can't turn the piano into a pad, at least this particular preset. Some of the others you might be able to. No, I don't want to exit. So you have attack, release, cutoff. So you can take any tone and make it a little brighter or a little darker. But again, all the DSP effects are available to you here for any tone. So we can get into the DSP effects and run the piano tone through guitar amps or any of the other things that we have in here. It's really some really fun examples here. Rotary speakers and tremolos. And, you know, once you dial in the effect you want, you can go back out and add your system effects back in. Kind of a crazy example, but you'll find everything in the DSP effects section to manipulate these tones to however far you want to go. It's quite amazing. All right, taking a quick look at the chat. Yeah, Chandler mentioned adding a little delay, adding chorus, absolutely. Yeah, doubling with a sine. Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, my chat window that I normally use to put comments up on the screen and read them isn't quite working. But yeah, Chandler popped in and said delay and light chorus on a pop piano. It's really, really nice. So let's get in and you know, here's the pop. Take that pop piano, press edit, scroll left is the shortcut to get to the effects. And again, you can dial in the effect algorithms by number. And there's some amazing options in here. Some fun ones. You know, one thing to keep in mind with some of these algorithms, maybe you're just looking for the delay or something like that. So you can find an effect that has elements you want and then go in and turn off the elements that you don't want. So for example, I don't want overdrive, so I'll bypass it. I don't want the amp cabinet, so I will bypass it. But now I have the chorus pitch shifter and the delay. Pretty cool. And we can go back and then add our system reverb back in, add a little more system chorus, more delay. So pretty slick. Real nice type of sound you would want for maybe a ballad. So you could, again, you can exit, save it, add a rhythm of your choice. I like there's some great ones in here. Just looking for yeah, that one. Add a little pad. Get out of the octave menu. Sorry. Layer. Choose my layered tone by category. Oops. I got a little turned around. Happens in these webinars. There. there's the cool piano I just made. Now I can hit layer, add a pad or a string, category. Sorry, I'm at such an awkward angle for the screen because of the camera. I wanted you guys to be able to see, but now I can't. This is making it a little challenging. So I love that slap back delay, is pretty slick. Add that rhythm back in. So you get the idea. So many different combinations you can come up with. All right. New comments. Again, I can't. I'm having trouble reading them in my normal display, unfortunately. So yeah, I guess the question was coming up about the CT-X3050. So yeah, CT-X3050 is very much like a CT-X700 or 800 type product in terms of the sound set. There are some differences, some subtle differences, but that's an 88 note package with an incredible action, also remarkably affordable. So great product. And taking another look at the chat. So I've got a few other custom tones that I've made. So I'll just go in and highlight a few of them here that I have stored and see what we come up with. And we'll wrap things up in just about the next 10 minutes, unless there's some questions that I need to address. So, so here's an example. This is actually what I was going for, but it didn't quite get there. This is, take off the layer. This is a preset that again is free. You can download it from the Casio Music Forums website. It's already there, so do go there, CasioMusicForums.com, and check out this patch. PG piano. So that's the Peter Gabriel type of sound. I think I even have a rhythm. I'm stuck in the 80s, so there we go. You can download that one. So that's one that I came up with that I think you might enjoy. So one cool thing is that with all of these custom tones is that you can't forget that there is an amazing arpeggiator on here. So you can get in. And again, this is another tone that is up on Casio Music Forums. Add a layer. So in those preset packs that I made that you can download from Casio Music Forums, you will find a number of these types of sounds. Some of them I even put in the name, like best for arp. So use the arpeggiator. So in these particular cases, I did set the delay effect to match the tempo. So when you do use the arpeggiator, you get some real nice effects. And there's a variety of different arpeggiator algorithms that you can dial in that are pretty amazing. So 100 different arpeggiator patterns. some. So you see some of these are polyphonic. So put a rhythm behind that and you're set. Chicky, this is an electric piano. Oops, I still have the arpeggiator on. So that's one thinking of Chick Corea. Rest in peace. So that's what that particular tone was modeled after. Here's a clavinet with a little bit of wah and a little bit of a slapback delay. Here's the one we heard earlier. Truly amazing. The pad, the guitar. There's some organ edits. So you will find on Casio Music forums, you'll find some edits of the stock organ sounds where I've dialed in the effect to, I think, a little bit more musical level in terms of where the rotary speaker is. Leads. So again, I took a stock tone, I changed some of the parameters here, and then got into the effects and dialed in under algorithm that gave me that delay. 846, you'll see that I keep coming back to that particular algorithm because it's so incredibly flexible. All right. Some organs, JP70. So that's a Roland JP synth inspired tone, some more Rhodes. Almost a spring reverb type of effect. Awesome. Majestic, this is probably a big pad. This one is so expressive. When we play lightly. Amazing. Again, you could take a tone like that, put your piano on top of it. Jeremy was just asking, are the keys weighted on these models? No, on the CT-X 700, 800, 3000, these are all unweighted actions. So you'll find weighted action keyboards in our Privia lineup, the CDP line. That's where you'll find weighted action keyboards. So 61 keys unweighted. A couple more examples, then I got to wrap things up for today. Appreciate everybody being here. Phaser string, so this is like a 60s or 70s. If you need to play, if you're doing a rhythmics cover band. So great, great sound. Sample and hold. So again, almost all of the sounds you're hearing are very simple changes in attack, release, maybe a little bit of change in filter, but then the rest is all happening by the amazing DSP section on the CT-X. So get in and make your own sounds. Don't be afraid to edit. Press that edit button and explore. So I'll address one more question I see a little bit, asking if I could elaborate more on the Hammond organ tones. So I think, as Chandler already mentioned in the chat, for those of you reading the chat, the CT-X5000 model has some additional controls available to give you control over the rotary speaker effect in real time. So that is one reason that I went over it kind of quickly here. Oops, I still have my layer going. So let's remember where I was here. So let's find a more, find a good example. All right, so the CT-X 3000 and 5000 does have editable effects for the rotary speakers. You can get into a tone like this and dial in the rotary speaker effect, and within that rotary speaker effect you'll find the ability to change the acceleration speed. The acceleration is how long does it take to get from the slowest speed to the fast speed, and the that would be the rise acceleration, and then the fall is when you hit slow speed, how long does it take it to slow down. So in the presets that I made, I tweaked these two parameters. I also tweaked the slow and fast rates to what I personally thought was a more musical level. You can see there's some other things in here you can change, like overdrive and whatever. So you see on the 3000 model, I actually have to go into edit mode and have this parameter handy to be able to change that effect speed. On the CT-X5000, you can assign a switch to control that parameter in real time. So that's one big difference between the two. The other reason I sort of skipped over organ tones is I don't have an expression pedal currently plugged into the back of my CT-X, and to me personally, organs are hard to play without having an expression pedal. That's just a whole part of the recipe. But there are some presets that I've made that I think dial some of these things in a little bit better. And so, like, I did the full bar with and without the chorus. I did some with a little bit different distortion. I've got some with, but I've tweaked the rotary speaker effects on each of those. So they're pretty slick, and the 5000, like I said, gives you some more flexibility. All right. So Jeremiah said what attracted him to this keyboard was its professional sound, and I agree. I mean, I think Casio really set the bar at a whole new level when it comes to affordable, great sounding keyboards, and CT-X is really outstanding in that regard. And again, if you're willing to dig under the hood, or at the very least go to CasioMusicForums.com and learn to load in some of these custom tones, you're opening up a whole new world of possibilities. So do explore, do press that edit button, get in there and make your own tones and contribute back to the community that is, we've helped build here at Casio. That's a great community we have going over there. So someone's asking, is the CT-X3000 worth to get to replace your Korg micro arranger? Well, I would say look at my room behind me. Instruments, it's great to have options. It's great to have different flavors. And I'm not going to say anything bad about any other brand, because we live in an amazing age that there are so many great options available. And I think what Casio brings to the table with the CT-X line is truly amazing, especially for the price. And oh, I saw a comment there. I popped up on the screen, but I didn't read it. Piano tones came from the Privias or something. Yes, they do. They're derived from the technology that you'll hear in Privias. But again, back to that original question: should you sell another instrument to buy a new one? Well, sometimes we have to. I've done that myself over the past year. I've sold one instrument to buy something else. It happens. But having many options available to you, different flavors of ice cream, that's always a good thing. So it's good. Back to address that question about the piano tones, they coming from Privia. Yeah, I mean, CTX, you'll find this is a 9-foot concert grand. It's a recording of the same one that we put into Privia. It's a different recording, but it is the same source instrument. So, and I think Chandler, let's see what Chandler said. Yeah, the samples might be shared, and yeah, there's different technology in the Privia models that bring those instruments to light a different way. There's amazing technology in the Privia PXS series in particular that make it much more of an experience while you're playing those piano tones. There's some modeling going on with sympathetic resonance, with damper resonance, the way everything works together. It's really amazing. So if you haven't experienced a Privia, especially the PXS 1000 and 3000, do check them out. They're really amazing. And for me, I like to have both weighted and unweighted keyboards, and the two are a great combination. So awesome, everybody. I've got to wrap things up. We've been going here for an hour today, but I hope you found this helpful. If you didn't see the beginning, you'll be able to, when we hit stop here, go back and watch the beginning. But the overall message here is, press that edit button, get in and explore with the parameters that are available, write your own sounds, share them with the community as others have done, as we have done, upload them, and at the very least, go and register at CasioMusicForums.com, download some of these awesome tones, and load them into your CT-X3000 or 5000. Hope you found this webinar helpful. If you, please give us thumbs up, leave comments below of what you'd like to see in future webinars. And for now, my name is Mike Martin. Hope to see you again soon. Take care, everybody.